Well, good morning, everyone. And how are you? And once again, welcome to another live this morning. Hope you're having a wonderful start to your day. We appreciate you guys coming on as usual, and we love to say hello, do a little roll call this morning if we can. And let's see, who's number one on my hit parade this morning? I'm gonna say, okay, who? Andrea. Niagara Falls, Kevin, there he is, right up at the top from Oshawa. Sandy, Fergus Falls, Minnesota, in the top three. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Brahim from Portland, Oregon. Patricia from Florida. Rosa from Montreal. Nativity, how are you? We love you guys coming on and saying hello. Maria from Ottawa. Carrie from Nebraska. And Sue, how are you? From Bolton. Lynn, Aurora. Grace, how are you? From the Rock in Newfoundland. Georgie, Halifax, Nova Scotia. Wendy's on with us this morning from Markham. Paul, how are you, Paul? St. Thomas. Andy, Calgary. Maryland. Charlottetown, Cecilia, Shediac, New Brunswick, Wendy from Aylmer, Elaine from St. John's, Newfoundland. Marine's on with us this morning from Boca Raton, Florida. Sandy, Vancouver, Washington. Fran's on from Orangeville. Hi, Connie. And Lori from Alberta. Dennis from Norwich, Ontario. Diane, Peterborough. Donna from Newfoundland. Shirley, Newfoundland, Twin Gate. Beautiful. Eileen from Brampton. Carol's on from West Virginia. Sherry from Mississauga. Patricia from Pulaski, Tennessee. I loved Tennessee when I went through there. It was beautiful. Nativity. Karen, Paula Joe, Meta. Francis from Vaughan, how is you? John, there he is, our friend from Elgin, Illinois. Veronica is on with us. Nick, how are you? Yalon. Good morning. Valita. Nellie. Paula Joe saying, she's got lots of emojis. Etta. Anna from sunny Manitoba. Yes, sunny here this morning. We kind of appreciate it. And Milika from Stouffville. Heather. And Norma. Elaine. Good morning. And Elaine. Hi, Doc. Bennett, dear friend, on with us this morning. Sidvet. Bruno, North Bay. Annette. Kelowna, British Columbia. Hi, Rita. And Diane from North Bay. Herma. Burlington. Elaine. How are you? Yeah, Paula Joe says she loves Tennessee too. Paula Joe. Kentucky's beautiful too. Marlene. They sure are. Faye. Leela from Verner. Kathy, how are you from Wasaga Beach? Okay, guys, let's get going. Hi, Sharon. Coffee is good. Yeah, I had my coffee. Jean from Strathroy. Okay, what do I start with today? I have so many studies, I don't know where to start. Let me do this, okay? Because I was reading an article yesterday. And I said, you know what, I got to just comment on this because it's talking about estrogen dominance. And that's a big problem in our society today, guys. Okay? Both for men and women. Big problem in our society is estrogen dominance. Okay? Now, guess what I got to do? I got to take out my chart. Okay, let me get it out. There it is. Okay, I got it right here. Okay? Now, Can you see this? And this is, of course, the writing is backwards for you guys when you're watching here. I wish Facebook would change that again so that, anyway, what can I tell you? Okay? Now, here's a pyramid that I showed thousands of patients over the years. And the problem with hormones. And it's really important, okay? Really important that you understand that hormones, they work together. If you separate, and this is where there's so much confusion because they're separated all the time, okay? So you know, even endocrinologists, they separate. So when you get doctors, thyroid, and they leave it there. And so they isolate the thyroid, and that's a big mistake, guys. It's a big mistake. Because, again, the teaching on the thyroid is it's like a puppet. It's got a lot of strings attached to it. So when your thyroid is not working properly, there's reasons for it. It's not just the thyroid. Okay? Now, let me give you an example because, you know, again, I read stuff and then it sort of chews me off a little bit because I get upset that here we are in 2026 and it's so hard to move the needle with doctors to get them to look at the big picture. And that's why so many women especially, but it happens in men too, they miss the boat because they don't take everything else into account when it comes to the thyroid, okay? So when estrogen becomes dominant in a woman, it's always in relationship. So you see the two at the bottom here. It's always a relationship between estrogen and progesterone. Okay? Estrogen, because I had, and even doctors go, Dr. Martin, of course estrogen is coming down. What are you talking about, estrogen dominance? They're in perimenopause. They're in menopause. Their estrogen is non-existent. That's not true. Because you're not measuring it compared to progesterone. That's the key. They have to be balanced for a woman to feel good. And in a man, estrogen dominates testosterone. So when you get estrogen dominance in a man, it's because that testosterone has gone down. And estrogen is higher, and it never should be, in a man than testosterone is. In a woman, the estrogen is higher than progesterone. And that messes up, folks. That messes up this pyramid. And when you understand that, it makes a difference, okay? So what happens when you have estrogen dominance? Estrogen dominance, especially in women, okay? It disrupts the thyroid, the signaling in the thyroid. Okay? So that's number one. It disrupts the thyroid. They don't feel good. Okay? It increases, when estrogen is dominant, it increases inflammation in the body. Silent. It impairs, okay, because I often would draw a circle right around here, and circle the liver. Because the liver can't clear the excess estrogen. And by the way, in your liver, T4, most of the T4 that is converted to T3, which your thyroid needs to function properly, happens in the liver. You get estrogen dominance, it disrupts the clearance of estrogen, that disrupts the conversion of T4 to T3, your thyroid slows to a crawl. Okay? Your metabolic output, your metabolism. Your thyroid is your gas pedal, guys. It's a fat burner. But not if it's slowed to a crawl. And women, especially, they get weight gain, they get fatigue, they have poor recovery, either from infection or even an injury, and they have low motivation. I saw that a gazillion times. Estrogen dominance. Okay? And that is really important. That's really important. You have to figure this out because, and in the man, estrogen, and by the way, guys, estrogen is a growth hormone. Fat, right? But it's a growth hormone. Men, the prostate. Your thyroid, yes, but men, your prostate. It's so important because men, especially nowadays around the age of 50, they got more estrogen than their wives. What does that do? Yeah, it slows the thyroid too. And it creates inflammation in the prostate. And it grows. And that can have, of course, it can have a major effect on prostate cancer. But benign prostate hyperplasia, like where the prostate grows and frequent urination, and for a lot of men, ED, it's part of it. And again, guys, just the point, because we live in an estrogen-dominated world. The world is dominated by estrogen because most of the chemicals that are found in your home, that are found in the soil, that are found in the air, that are found in the water, mimic estrogen. They're called xenoestrogens. Your body thinks it's estrogen. Your body says, okay, come. You're estrogen. But they're xenoestrogens. So you have estrogen dominance compared to progesterone, estrogen dominance compared to testosterone in men, and it creates a havoc inside this pyramid here. Okay? And it just, like I said, it bothers me that the connections haven't been made. And this is why, like, if you're in a hormonal storm, and ladies, do I have to tell you? You know it. Even if your doctor doesn't know it, you know it. You're not up to snuff. Your body's not working like it used to. And, you look at food sideways and you gain weight. And like people used to tell me in the office, the women tell me, Doc, my metabolism isn't slow. It's in a coma. And so what we did in the office, we worked on all of this to balance this out. And one of the biggest things, and I put it right here in the middle, because that's where your pancreas is. And that's a hormone too. Insulin's a hormone too. And people, they never put that together with the rest of the chart. But you have to start with food. You're going to eat anyways. So if you understand that insulin and insulin resistance, it's carbs, man. It's the sugars and everything that turns to sugar rapidly. You need to get that cleaned up, because otherwise the thyroid will not respond properly. You have to if you eat right, you're going to empty your liver. And your liver will now be able to clear the extra estrogen. And if that happens, your thyroid will start functioning properly, because T4 will now be able to be converted properly to T3, and your thyroid will start to work properly again. So you have to get the estrogen progesterone balance. Men, you got to dim out that estrogen. And then, I didn't even talk to you about cortisol, the adrenals. But again, it's part of that equation. Because what happens with cortisol, this is very significant, especially in women, because cortisol, the stress hormone, left unattended, meaning it's out of control, will rob progesterone. Well, what does that do? Well, estrogen goes up even more compared to progesterone. Okay. If you, for example, you do a blood test or hormonal testing for estrogen, progesterone, okay, you can do it. But if your practitioner doesn't get the clear picture here of how your body operates, oh, your estrogen's in normal limits. But not compared to progesterone, it isn't. So anyway, I read an article and I sort of I know I go over this all the time, but it drives me batty. Because I just know there's millions of women out there in North America and they fall through the cracks. And men have no idea that estrogen is even a factor in their lives. Nobody's told them that. But men have more estrogen than women in our society. It's crazy. And their testosterone sinks like the Titanic. And they don't feel good. Okay. All right, what else was I going to do here this morning? Okay. It's a new article in the publication Neurology, okay? And let me read the headline to you. The associations between ultra-processed foods consumption and adverse brain health outcomes. Hello? They're finally talking about it. Processed foods, sugary snacks, even any noodle. When I go through the grocery store, guys, okay, I have to be careful because I almost want to stop people with their carts, okay? Okay? And say, Don't do that. Don't eat that. Don't give that to your kids. And you know what? I get it. I understand. Groceries are so stinking expensive today. And, people, they're just trying to survive. And I understand that, okay? I really do. And therefore, I have to shut my mouth. Okay? I have to shut my mouth. And I don't want to be pushy. But it hurts when I watch people choosing foods, or so-called foods, and they're putting them in their basket and they're feeding their family with, man, it kills me. It kills me. But like I said, I gotta go, zip it. Zip it, Doc. Shut up. Okay? My wife often has to put a lasso on me. And the other thing is she can't get me out of the grocery store because I'm reading labels. You read that label 10 times. I know, but it takes me an hour to read it with all the ingredients in it. That ought to be a clue, guys. Okay? It ought to be a clue. And so these foods, they're characterized by long lists of ingredients. Okay? And artificial additives, sweeteners, artificial, and, high fructose corn syrup. You know what I think about that. Preservatives and colors. They put colors in food and drinks. All artificial. It takes you an hour to read the label. And you can't pronounce half the stuff that's in there. When you can't pronounce it, usually not too good. Okay? And these foods, I feel sorry for people though, too, I do, because they're palate friendly. You know the story here. The food industry. Guys, I kind of chuckle because the tobacco industry, the true story, guys, the tobacco industry, the biggest one was Philip Morris. They got into the food industry because the tobacco industry was going down. And they were liars, and they brought all their scientists, what I call addictive scientists, because they knew how to addict people with tobacco. And they said, oh, it's not addictive. They lied, they got caught. So you know what they did? They took all their gazillions of dollars and they bought food companies. And they brought their scientists with them. And when you go in the middle aisles of your grocery store, you look at the foods there from cereals to pretzels. You know what they did? They designed those foods scientifically to make them addictive. You think those people weren't smart? You think they didn't know what to do? There's scientists in the lab saying, how are we going to make this food so that people will be addicted to it? Oh, I read something on the FDA the other day, and I wrote it down, and maybe we'll talk about it some other time. But just suffice to say this, the FDA lied. The Food and Drug Administration lied. They covered up the addictiveness of processed foods. to protect the food industry and to protect Big Pharma. Because Big Pharma, the sicker you are, the more money they make. Big Pharma don't make money if you take care of yourself. Do you know that? They don't make any money off of you. And, I'm not saying there's no good people in Big Pharma. You need a medication, okay. But they make money when they sell their medications. You think the makers of Wegovy, Ozempic, do you think for 1 minute they want you to be healthy? Those are diabetic drugs. You think they want to get rid of diabetes? That's why they don't talk about food. And the FDA let them get away with it. Prove it. So guys, they got these foods, they have a long shelf life. When people are busy and families are on a budget, what do you think they do? Well, I got to feed them. They're lacking in nutritional value, high in unhealthy fats, the PUFAs, the polyunsaturated fatty acids, oils. You never think foods, but there's oil in there, there's fat, but it's bad fat. Sugars and fat, they don't go good. Insulin goes crazy, right? Okay. So here's the study, okay? Because I gave you all the preamble. Associations between ultra-processed food consumption and adverse brain health outcomes in the publication Neurology, okay? Now, here's the findings. I wrote them down. 4 things. Cognitive decline. People that eat that, mainly that. The brain function, cognitive, down. Brain structure changes. It's not just cognitive, the brain changes. The structure of the brain. The increase, this is what the study said, risk of dementia. Where have you heard that before? And number 4, inflammation. It increases inflammation markers in the brain and oxidation, the double-edged sword. Inflammation, destructive, if it doesn't go away. Oxidation, destructive. Premature aging of the brain, that's oxidation. Okay? Why are they so harmful again? The processed foods. Lack of nutrients. Guys, I'm telling you, the nutritional value of those foods are almost non-existent, and they got no essential vitamins that your body needs. They try and fortify some of those foods, but they're not bioavailable vitamins. Like, you know what I mean? Like, especially I think of B12. I think of omega-3. They're devoid of that. It doesn't have the vitamins and the minerals and the antioxidants that you need. High sugar content. We know what that does. It increases insulation. How about insulin? It increases insulin and insulin resistance, which is metabolic syndrome, which affects everything, guys. When you think about it, right? We talk about this every day. Insulin goes up. Cells become resistant to it. They're sick and tired of seeing insulin coming around. Insulin doesn't care. It has to come around because it can't allow sugar to stay in the bloodstream. It says, open up cells, open up. And the cells go, we hate you, we hate you, we hate you. Get away from me. And that leads to a cascade. Your triglycerides go up. Your HDL goes down. Your blood pressure goes up. Your blood sugar goes up. You get belly fat. Your uric acid levels go up. Your vitamin D goes down. Your B12 goes down. All part of metabolic syndrome. It makes you much more susceptible to heart disease, to cancer. And this is the one they're saying, okay? They only looked at the brain and they said, yeah, Alzheimer's, dementia, cognitive. You know what, guys? When I was able to clean up a child, it was never easy. But if you could clean up a child, ADD, ADHD, kids on the spectrum of autism, and if they would buy into it with the parents on eating right, as much as they could, the difference was incredible. Teachers used to call me in my office. Dr. Martin, I don't know you, but I love you. What you do? Okay? You love me? Why? Well, you saw so-and-so. And the difference is astounding, Dr. Martin. It's astounding. Focus. Unreal. And what did you do? Well, I got their little face and I said, are you always in trouble? Yeah. Do you like it? No. Do you want to change that? Okay. Let's do it together. The first thing I'd start with was breakfast. I said, you need a foundation. Let's start with that. You like bacon? Yeah. I said, well, you can have it every morning. You see that cereal you like? You know, the Frosted Flakes? No. No. No? No. That's why your brain's going crazy. Okay? See those drink boxes that your mommy gives you? Don't drink that no more. No? No. Don't drink that no more. That's not good for your brain. Yeah. Getting the memo? Kids are smart, by the way. Man, they're smart. First of all, they know when you're lying to them. Somehow they can tell I cared about them. Okay. And then, you got that high lack of nutrients, high sugar content. We know what that does. Bad fat. We know what that does. From inflammation to oxidation. And, but the other thing that is mentioned in this article, and I almost passed out or in this study. The gut-brain connection. They mentioned it. It messes up. It messes up the gut-brain connection. They're admitting there's a connection between the gut and the brain, and they get leaky gut with bad food. I was shocked. Are they listening to the Doctor Is In podcast? I don't know. Probably not. Although millions do. Anyway, isn't that interesting, guys? Okay, what's tomorrow? It's Q&A. Q&A. Always fun. It's popular. I wouldn't do it if it wasn't. But you guys are asking questions, and we want that. We encourage it. So send in your questions to info@martinclinic.com. Don't be shy. Okay? Don't be shy. Love your questions. Okay. I'm just overwhelmed with studies. I love it. Okay. Love you. Talk to you soon.